Okay, let's go to the next one here on Hunter Biden. There's a lot going on. So over the weekend, I brought everybody the breaking news segment about the special counsel being appointed. Basically, Merrick Garland allowed David Weiss, who was the prosecutor, the U.S. attorney on the case against Hunter Biden, to be elevated to special prosecutor status. At first, it appeared as if the DOJ was taking the case more seriously and investing Weiss with some more power. But some new details that are actually being released from the Hunter Biden team themselves cast some doubt as to whether this was an overtly political move to basically cover up David Weiss from further scrutiny as he continues to operate on this case. Let's put this up there on the screen. This is from the Hunter Biden team, so you should certainly take this with a grain of salt. But if you read carefully, basically what Hunter is saying is that the Justice Department genuinely was reneging on a major part of the deal that he had in principle with the government. That agreement, we should recall, was to enroll in a diversion program for gun offenders that he had signed and granted him, quote, broad immunity from future federal prosecutions. That was included in a court filing by Hunter's lawyer, basically testifying and putting this forth before the court. So if they're lying about it, clearly they're actually going to face some penalty. They say that this dispute between Biden and Weiss happened last week after the implosion of the agreement. This actually adds, quote, growing uncertainty about the Biden investigation and how it's going to be resolved and why Weiss was appointed special counsel in the first place. And one thing that Republican officials and members of Congress have been pointing to, Krystal, is that they were trying to call David Weiss for testimony before Congress to explain his actions.
Yeah.
And the reason why they wanted to call him is that we'll recall we had the IRS whistleblowers who came forward and they're like, hey, Weiss wanted to prosecute this guy for felony tax offense. Then it didn't happen. He's getting a sweetheart deal. Now, they wanted to ask him, they're like, look, is Hunter lying or not? Like, did you really offer him broad immunity? Or is Hunter lying about that? And then that led to all this courtroom drama.
Right.
And then the judge throws out the plea agreement. Even the watered down agreement is extraordinary for the judge to throw it out and basically saying, I think this is too lenient. I've never seen anything like this in my entire term on the bench. So it does look now, it's possible at least, that special counsel status was given to Weiss in order to help him avoid current scrutiny, then have to issue a report, and then only face testimony and scrutiny after the entire case has been resolved, like what happened with Robert Mueller.
This whole thing is a muddle, and I'm very confused by all of it.
I'm confused by it too.
I mean, everything looked like, all right, so first of all, it looked like Hunter got what I think anyone has to acknowledge was a really beautiful deal on his, but like should be very happy with, right? And then they go to court, and then the whole thing, there's a disagreement immediately between his team and the government team of what the deal actually is. And that's where this dispute comes into play. And then the judge is basically like, listen, I'm not comfortable with this. You guys are going to have to take some more time. It looks like Hunter, at this point, it looks like Hunter may actually go to trial because the deal sort of fell apart. You've got these allegations flying from his lawyers. And now you've got David Weiss appointed as special counsel. I mean, part of what is tough for Republicans is that you did have 30 Senate Republicans a while back calling not only for a special counsel in this investigation, but literally calling for David Weiss to be appointed special counsel in this investigation. So I know they would say like, oh, the things are different now, et cetera, but it's pretty hard to have said something so clearly and then when it actually happens, be like, no, we didn't actually want this. So they've got a difficult situation on their hands as well. In terms of why he was appointed now, what the goal was, I really am going to reserve judgment because to me, it's such a muddle and a mess and it's so confusing at this point. What was promised, what wasn't promised, what Hunter Biden's understanding was, what the government's understanding was. David Weiss has himself said confusing things, claiming he felt he had all the powers he needed. Right. He didn't need special counsel powers.
Right,
but
so
then,
why are you giving it to him?
Then why is he getting them now?
Yeah.
So to me, it's a muddle and a mess, and I'm reserving judgment, but it doesn't look good.
No, it does not look good at all. Just to give an example, Ted Cruz gave an explanation as how the Republicans are looking at this now. Let's take a listen to what he said.
Well, this appointment is camouflage and it's cover-up. I think it's disgraceful. Listen, David Weiss was the U.S. attorney handpicked to lead this investigation who spent the last 5 years covering it up. David Weiss, who was personally selected by the two Democrat senators from Delaware, Tom Carper and Chris Coons, For 5 years, the investigation has gone nowhere other than to protect Hunter Biden and Joe Biden. Not only that, David Weiss is the one that is subject to 2 whistleblower complaints from senior career IRS officials who came forward. They said they'd never seen an investigation like this in their entire time in law enforcement. They said that the Department of Justice, lawyers working for David Weiss, protected the Biden family.
So that's the Republican view of it now. And I do think it's interesting, like you said, because originally some people did actually ask for a special counsel.
Ted Cruz being one of them.
Ted Cruz being one of them.
Asked for David Weiss to be appointed as special counsel.
And then now, though, yeah, I mean, it does come down to timing. It comes down to what exactly it's going to look like and why this appointment was made. Is this case going to go to trial? Is a plea agreement actually going to happen? And actually, even the current case, it doesn't even concern me that much because I don't care as much about the tax charges. I want to know about all this money that was flown in here. I care about what said money that tax was not paid on. Where did it come from? Why was it paid? For what purpose? Some of that has been released. Now the $20 million or so that they've revealed in transactions, which is extraordinary for so-called, like basically, Hunter wanting to avoid registering as a foreign agent. Those are the cases that I actually want to see and the actual investigation. So is he even going to go into that? Because that's one thing Weiss floated before the judge was, yeah, well, we may still explore an investigation or whatever into that. But then I've also seen that one of the criticisms of Weiss is that he's been waiting for some statutes of limitations also to expire in some charges that could have been brought against Hunter, and he's been dragging his feet on this case now for almost for several years that he's been in charge. So yeah, the entire thing doesn't make any damn sense.
Yeah, I mean, listen, on the Republican side, they're going to criticize, no matter what was done here, they're going to criticize.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's pretty blatant when you literally ask for exactly this outcome and then the outcome happens and you're up at arms. And I love how Ted Cruz conveniently leaves that out when he's talking about his 5-year cover-up or whatever. Like, if it was a 5-year cover-up, then, that was going on back when you were calling for this man to be appointed special counsel. I sort of disregard the things that they say. In terms of what we do know, I agree with you, Saagar. These charges are directly about Hunter Biden. They are not, except tangentially, about Joe Biden. But the political impact here is pretty clear. They thought they were going to have this thing done and dusted, and it would be, a side note and in the rearview mirror in terms of the Biden campaign, and that is very clearly not happening. This is going to drag on. There may be a trial. This is going to hang over the Biden campaign probably throughout 2024, and so for them, it's definitely, it's definitely not ideal.
No, certainly not, and we will continue to keep an eye on it.
Hey guys, if you like that video, go to breakingpoints.com, become a premium subscriber, and help us build the best independent media organization on the planet.
That's right. We're subscriber funded. We're building something new. We want to replace these failing mainstream media organizations.
So again, to subscribe, it's breakingpoints.com.